Man, the responses are, I'm not going to say overwhelming because you never want to say that in my business, but they are, I mean, it is. I now know how people consume media. Yep. It's not very long. I know that much. But the responses to the YouTube segments, show, whatever we're going to call it, are pretty interesting to say the least. I got to tell you, the most fascinating thing is whatever rant, and I believe I was just a day removed from a really serious car accident, so I'm going to be honest, I was kind of delirious. So some people have pointed out, probably the first time they've ever heard me is, I think some said you're not making any sense. I don't know if I really wasn't making any sense or they just didn't understand my rant about old school Austin and the Austin culture that has completely disappeared, have been wiped out and is non-existent. But the hole in the wall, my comments about the hole in the wall, the whole point of the YouTube segment was it's over. I mean, you can give them all the money you want. We're not going back. We can't go back. It has produced reactions on every spectrum. I need to sit down one night and just compile them all. They go from Austinites saying, absolutely right on, this sucks, I remember the days, I mean, we've lost our soul, people that used to live here agreeing, and then you've got this other huge segment of people responding to my, it's all over Austin, the culture's gone kind of thing. And I can't tell if they're new Austinites or what, but they're really, really offended. Quit whining, that kind of stuff. Man, they're angry. I think they're new. And I don't think they like me saying, yeah, you think it's cool. It's not. So keep watching, keep generating comments. They're good. So subscribe to it. Let's talk about the Heisman Trophy. There's a lot to this. There's a lot to unpack about. It's not just about the Heisman Trophy. Does the Heisman Trophy matter? Yes, it does. But there's context. There's context because everybody often overplays how much it really means and what exactly it means. I think we're getting better at having context of the Heisman Trophy, but I'm not sure we're fully there yet. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great pro. In fact, it's more times than not just the opposite. More times than not, the Heisman Trophy winner is not even a really good pro, not even a decent pro many times. And I think it's unfair. We get stuck on that because the NFL is so big, it's so in our face, it is so important to us, it's so entertaining to us that it's kind of the end all. So we just assume if you're the Heisman Trophy winner means absolutely you're the best, you're going to be a great pro. Now, I don't think it's true and it's not fair. Does it mean you're the best player in the college game? And the answer to that is not necessarily. More times than not, probably not. What it does mean, my opinion, you can disagree on this, but here's how I define the Heisman Trophy over time. The Heisman Trophy means you are the most celebrated player in the college game, and you're usually on the most celebrated team. That's it. That's the way to look at it. And I don't think that's unfair. I don't think that means it's not a great season. I think it is what it is. You are the most celebrated player on usually the most celebrated team. So think of it that way if you can. I mean, for the conversation, I want you to think of it that way so you're not guilty of placing too much judgment on it. Because we got a weird collision of celebrity, controversy, and kind of a local superstar story. So follow this one. Caleb Williams, the quarterback of USC, who was the quarterback at Oklahoma, deserved the Heisman Trophy this past season. I can't remember the exact voting, but I assume it was a runaway. So I'm going to go back in time because it has nothing to do with him and his talent. He will be the first pick in the draft. He could be a great pro, but he's probably going to end up in Arizona, of which it's become like it's like the Cleveland Browns of the desert. It's a dark hole for quarterbacks, so he could be ruined there, just like the Cardinals ruin everybody else, like the Browns ruin everybody. He'll end up in Arizona, and they might ruin him. He could be a great pro. There's no doubt he's a great college player. So I'm not minimizing Caleb Williams' talent. But I'm going to go back in time because, oddly enough, the Netflix special on Johnny Manziel is taking us back in time. I don't think I'm being a homer on this, but I have no problem if you make that suggestion. The Heisman Trophy, there's a couple already. Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams have won Heisman trophies. They're down the street from where I'm sitting right now. I'm going to go back in time. There should be another Heisman Trophy there. And it should have Vince Young's name on it. And that's not because he was the first choice. He wasn't. In fact, if I remember correctly, he was a distant second in the Heisman balloting. I would add an opinion here, but I don't think it's really debatable. But had the selection for the Heisman Trophy happened after the national championship game, one of the greatest games of all time, yeah, Texas won, but it was still a fantastic game either way. His name might be on the trophy anyway in the conversation, and Johnny Manziel and Netflix wouldn't even be a topic of conversation right now. He would have been the outright winner, possibly. But the guy that won it in 2005, the most celebrated player, no doubt, on the most celebrated team, USC, shooting for a third championship in a row. They were 6 inches away from doing it against Texas. But I dare say that Texas team with Vince Young wasn't that far behind as him being the second most celebrated player on the second most celebrated team. I'm going to tell you that based on one season alone, that Texas team, and if you go back, and I did it one night over some Cabernet and usual no sleep, that was one of the most dominant seasons by a team, since probably the, Nebraska teams of the mid-'90s. It was one of the best seasons by any college team, period. So, yeah, that was a celebrated team, no doubt. All right, so the guy that won in 2005 and a runaway from Vince Young has had the Heisman Trophy vacated, which takes us to the Netflix documentary, which takes us to the whole storyline of whether or not Johnny Manziel is relevant. He is trying to be relevant. What relevant means, I don't know, but he's making noise again. I think he's feeling relevant. And if you haven't seen the Netflix documentary on Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, it's well done. I don't think he helped his public image. In fact, a lot of people think that he hurt his public image, if you could even do that. He just didn't come across as a sympathetic figure. He came across as a guy in his 30s with a bunch of tats and was directionless. In other words, he seems a lot like he used to seem. Either way, he then has come out with, Johnny Manziel won a Heisman Trophy. He should have. He should have. He did it. He had one of the most decorated seasons you could imagine. Was that A&M team one of the most celebrated teams? No. He was the most celebrated player because he owned a celebrated game. The most celebrated game of that season was an upset of A&M over Alabama, of which Johnny Manziel had his handprints all over the game. I mean, he owned the game. He dominated the game. He took it over just like a Heisman Trophy winner would. So here he comes. Johnny Manziel is feeling relevant. He's gone to social media. He wants to be heard. He wants to be a voice again. He wants to matter in the landscape of college sports, whether you want him to or not. I think he's coming there. And he now says Reggie Bush, who won the Heisman Trophy in 2005, should have the Heisman Trophy back. No. No. Lost in this is something that was lost years ago. And I hate to revisit it, but it's worthy of being revisited because of the world we live in today. So let's unpack this, because I think it's been a simmering issue for a long time, and I'm not quite sure it completely went away, but it did. So Johnny Manziel goes public and says, listen, when all of us Heisman Trophy winners go up to the stage every year, there's no reason for Reggie Bush not to be there with us. He needs that trophy back. This has got to get fixed now. Okay. You can agree if you want. Here's some of the reasoning. I'll do it for Johnny Manziel. What was illegal at that time in the college game that Reggie Bush was guilty of, and that was his family getting paid off by an agent. I've used to see it countless times. That is, you front the family some money, you give them what they need, and then you do a post-dated contract, or you just have an agreement saying that, hey, I'll represent you. It's been going on for a long, long time. It was very illegal then in terms of NCAA rules. No doubt, it was very illegal. It would be perfectly legal today. In fact, it's encouraged today. So what Reggie Bush did by his family getting paid by an agent wouldn't matter at all now. In fact, it'd be a bidding war. They'd say, man, that's not enough Lamborghinis. If he went to Texas or USC, that's not enough Lamborghinis now. So what really got you in trouble, and it cost USC all their games, would be nothing now. Like I said, it'd be encouraged now. So should he get his Heisman Trophy back? I mean, the fact that it was against the rules then, perfectly legal now, does that mean he should get his Heisman Trophy back? No. I would say no, but that's the argument that's going on now. And I'm going to tell you no, and that I don't think that's a very good argument. I don't think it's a very intellectual argument. So your program was accused. No, not accused. You were guilty of breaking the rules at the time in a terrific kind of way. Your team took the punishment, you took the punishment, but you went on, your coach left, all that. You guys went on and left the program in tatters for a while. So, but it's now legal. So should you get your Heisman Trophy back? That's an argument. So it's all very legal now. You can pay anybody anything you want. It doesn't matter. Why didn't Vince Young get that Heisman Trophy? I mean, we've had a vacated trophy. Like, there's no winner. But there was a guy that finished second. So why now are we arguing, let's take none of the above off the trophy now and give it back to Reggie Bush? If the first person was ineligible, why wouldn't the person who was eligible be able to get the trophy? That trophy should be right down the street, and this conversation should not be happening, but it is. So here comes the voice of consciousness, Johnny Manziel. Former Heisman, I'm reading now from USA Today Sports today. Former Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel thinks Reggie Bush should have his Heisman Trophy back. He believes that the Heisman Trust should give Bush his award back after he forfeited his trophy following an investigation of whether he and his family received extra benefits while he was in school. They did. A lot. It was illegal then, not now. Manziel took to social media. Quote, the only difference between my story... I'm sure A&M loves to hear this. The only difference between my story and Reggie's is that my illegal activities, how's that feel, A&M, did not start until after my Heisman season, and said what the NCAA did in the Bush situation was absolute bull expletive. End quote from Johnny Manziel. He's one of the best college football players in history and deserves to be on that stage with us every year. Manziel was suspended, in case you don't remember this. He was suspended for one half of the opening game of that season, which I think was probably Rice or some directional school. He won the Heisman Trophy in 2012, and he was back for another season. So he says that he made money from selling autographs, which violated NCAA rules. It did. He did. And so he's arguing, wait a second, I broke the rules. I got paid. I hid money. He said in the documentary he was putting money under his pillow. I knew what I was doing, and I broke the rules. The NCAA sucks, and Reggie Bush did the same thing. So, what's the big deal? Can he have his trophy back and be up on stage with us? I don't know. Do you think he should? I mean, there you go. There's the barstool question right there. Should he have his Heisman Trophy back? It should have gone to Vince Young to begin with. You shouldn't have his trophy back because he shouldn't. If you're going to say he can't have the trophy, he's ineligible, you just don't have an award, always seemed dumb to me. It should have been Vince Young's trophy, period. People wouldn't even be complaining. But we had a blank trophy. Manziel admitted he made money in the Netflix documentary. I have deep hatred against the NCAA, he says in the documentary. The NCAA hammered the USC program after its investigation of improper benefits received by Bush. The Trojans lost 30 scholarships and vacated 14 wins in 2004 and 2005 seasons in which Bush played. He had almost 1,800 yards. He was spectacular. No disagreement there. Did he deserve it more than Vince Young? No, but he was the most celebrated player on the most celebrated team in the most celebrated game. But when he was ruled ineligible and so he couldn't receive the Heisman Trophy, it's idiotic that it didn't go to the guy who was number 2. So it's been vacated. So that's why Johnny Manziel actually has a little bit of an argument now. This thing it was vacated. And so it's not against the rules now. So why not just go ahead and give him the trophy back? Let's put his name on there and he can show up with the rest of us. There. No. I mean, I get it, but no. It should have gone to the other guy anyway. This should have not have been a blank year. It was fake. I mean, it should have had someone's name on it, and this is a ridiculous argument over time. I don't think anyone, Johnny Manziel might be today, I don't think anyone would be complaining that much if it had Vince Young's name on it. He finished number 2. The first guy was ineligible. There was no number 1, so it logically should have gone to number 2. Done. Thanks for that try, Johnny. It was well thought out, but it doesn't matter. The trophy should have gone somewhere else. Now that it didn't go to someone else, I don't know. Should they say, you know what? The rules are different now. Here, Reg, here's your trophy. Do some more Wendy's commercials.